Linda McMahon is set to lead Donald Trump's Department of Education with a mandate for reform. And her predecessor, former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, has a few ideas on how to do that. First, expand school choice. Money for education should follow students and be directed by their parents, not teachers' unions and government education bureaucrats. Second, cut out the federal middleman. Use block grants to bypass the Department of Education. Get the money to the local level where voters have a bigger say. Third, restore Title IX protections and start by ensuring that women's sports are protected for women. Fourth, overhaul the student loan system. The federal government has essentially taken over student lending, putting taxpayers on the hook. Reverse that. Bring back the private market. Finally, promote more post-high school options. End the bias toward college for all and start treating apprenticeships and trade schools like first-class options. For more on all of this, let's go right to the source. Joining us now is former Education Secretary under Donald Trump, Betsy DeVos. Secretary, welcome to the program. Talk about these 5 steps you'd laid out here. How doable are they? And do you think Linda McMahon can get them done quickly in the new Trump administration?
Well, first of all, I think they're very doable. And I think that soon-to-be Secretary McMahon and President Trump will indeed get them done. President Trump campaigned on these issues and had promoted them in the first term. Really, we tried to get education freedom, school choice accomplished. They can get it done this term. The support behind it is broad and vast. It will give a jump start to what's going on in the states, which is important. And then really block granting all of the funds that Congress appropriates for education back to the states and local districts to make the decisions closer to the students would get rid of the need for all the bureaucrats in Washington. And then protecting Title IX, really returning it to its original intent, which was to give women and girls equal opportunities in sports, get men out of women's sports, out of women's locker rooms and bathrooms, and then importantly, get federal student aid out of the Department of Education, set it up as an independent entity with professional financial service people running it, or in the Department of Treasury. Either way, the private sector needs to be invited back into student lending. It's been shut out since 2010. And supporting alternate pathways after high school is just critically important. Put more emphasis on apprenticeships, short-term certifications, and other alternative career pathways.
Secretary, I noticed on your list we did not see disbanding the Department of Education. And there are some calls and hopes that that will be an objective that the Trump administration moves towards. In fact, I want to play a soundbite for you, and we'll get your reaction on the other side. Listen here.
The word education is not in the Constitution as a responsibility of the federal government. And so what we need to do is devolve the work that's being done now in the Department of Education in Washington back down to the states and the localities. We need to do it legislatively and do it right.
So, Secretary, what do you think about that, just getting rid of the Department of Education?
Well, absolutely. I've actually suggested that and proposed that, and we essentially proposed that in the first term. It was not taken up seriously by Congress. It needs to be an act of Congress. But the points that I made about block granting funds essentially depowers the department in important ways. Also, you could move the Office for Civil Rights to the Department of Justice, where they have a civil rights department already. Justice has to do the litigation for education already anyway. It would make sense. And importantly, also the administration of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that could go to either Justice or HHS. It does not need to exist. It should not exist. But barring an act of Congress, if Congress does not do that, there are many ways to depower the Department of Education, and I expect that President Trump and Secretary McMahon will do just that.
Secretary, real quick, literally in 30 seconds, our own Charlie Gasparino is reporting that the Trump administration is looking at taxing endowments up to 34% as a bit of a penalty, if you will, for some of the woke indoctrination that we've seen on college campuses across this country. Your thoughts on if something like that could succeed?
Well, look, higher ed has gone off the rails. There's been no accountability. They've taken taxpayer money in the form of student loans. If they want to avoid getting taxed on endowments, they should take steps proactively to actually support students with those funds and encourage new students and help support the students that need to get there. They can take action on their own part, and they can make a difference in kids' lives, but they have to take a step. They can't just sit around and wait for something to happen to them.
You want to change higher ed, you got to go after the money. Secretary Betsy DeVos, great to see you today. Thanks for being with us.
Great to see you. Thank you.